You know, when you hear the term order to cash, your mind probably jumps to paperwork, right? Tedious administrative steps. But that's not the real story, not even close. The order to cash process, or OC2 as we call it, isn't just some background task. It is the powerful, complex, and absolutely vital engine that generates every single dollar of a company's revenue.
Okay, so here's a phrase that strikes fear into the heart of any business. Sales is not working. You've probably heard it before. It's the kind of high-stakes problem that gets executives in a room pointing fingers. And on the surface, it sounds simple, right? Like it's a problem with the sales team. But let me tell you, it's almost never that simple.
So what does sales is not working actually mean? Does it mean the sales team isn't making enough calls? Probably not. Usually it means something way deeper is broken. It could mean the truck never even left the warehouse, or the price on the invoice was totally wrong, or maybe the cash from a huge sale never actually made it to the company's bank account. See, the problem isn't the salespeople, it's the system behind them.
And that system, that's the order-to-cash process. Think of it like this. It's the entire life cycle of your revenue. It kicks off the very moment a customer shows interest, and it only truly ends when the cash from that sale is sitting safely in the bank. It's this crucial handshake between what sales promises, what logistics delivers, and what finance collects.
So next time you hear sales isn't working, what it really means is this. The company's entire revenue generation engine is sputtering. It's not just one part failing, it's that the connections between the parts are broken. And understanding this engine is the real key to fixing the real problem.
All right, so to really understand the engine, we first need to look at its most basic, ideal design. We like to call this the golden path, the perfect, straight-line flow of revenue from the very start to the very finish.
The golden path has 5 super clear phases. It all starts with pre-sales. You know, a customer asks for a quote. Then you create a sales order, which is basically the legal agreement. Next up is fulfillment, where the warehouse team picks, packs, and ships the product. From there, it's billing. You send out the invoice. And finally, accounting, where finance collects the payment and posts the cash. Simple, clean, totally logical.
But here's the twist. The real world is messy, right? A single golden path just isn't going to cut it because companies don't just sell one way. Selling a physical product is totally different from selling a service. A rush order isn't the same as a standard delivery. A one-size-fits-all approach, it just completely fails.
So, how do complex systems handle all this variety? Well, they use a toolbox. Instead of one rigid path, they give you a whole set of pre-built process blueprints. In a system like SAP, each of these blueprints is called a sales document type, but you can just think of it as a specific tool for a specific way of selling. The whole game is about knowing which tool to use for which job.
Let's see this in action. It's super clear with a simple example. A standard order versus a return order. They're just mirror opposites. With a standard order, goods go out, your inventory goes down, and you create an invoice. With a return, goods come back in, inventory goes up, and you generate a credit memo. See? 2 different tools for 2 totally opposite flows.
Okay, now check this out. Let's look at 2 processes built for speed: rush orders and cash sales. In both cases, the customer gets the goods right away. But the crucial difference is when the payment happens. A rush order is for a customer you trust. You ship the goods now and send an invoice later, so you've got to run a credit check. A cash sale? That's an over-the-counter deal. They pay immediately, so there's no need for a credit check. The timing of the cash completely changes the risk, and therefore the process.
And this brilliantly shows another fundamental difference. Selling a physical product versus selling a service. When you sell a product, you need a delivery, right? It reduces your physical inventory, and you typically bill the customer after the item is shipped. But a service like consulting, there's no delivery, there's no inventory. You often bill directly from the contract or the order itself. Totally different blueprints for totally different business realities.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, there are dozens of these blueprints. How can anyone possibly master them all? Well, guess what? You don't. You just need to understand the underlying framework, what I like to call the 4D mental model that governs every single one of them.
Seriously, this is the secret. Don't try to memorize a long list of 20 different processes. It's a waste of time. Instead, think of them as just different combinations of 4 fundamental dimensions. Once you get these 4 levers, you can understand pretty much any sales process you ever encounter. The first dimension is stock impact, and it's a super simple question. Do physical goods move? A standard order moves a box out of your warehouse, so yeah. But what about a credit memo to fix a pricing mistake? That's just a financial adjustment. No goods move at all, so the stock impact is 0. Simple as that. The second dimension is revenue timing. Now, this is a really critical accounting rule.
when do you actually count the money as income? For a physical product, it's usually when the goods are delivered. But for something like a subscription service, you might recognize that revenue bit by bit, every month, over the life of the contract.
Number 3 is billing behavior. This is all about what event triggers the invoice. For a physical product, that trigger is almost always the shipment. It's delivery related. But for a service, since there is no delivery, the trigger has to be something else, like the order or the contract itself. And the fourth and final dimension is risk exposure. Are you extending credit to this customer? I mean, if you ship goods before they pay, like in a standard order, you're taking on risk. So you need a credit check. But in a cash sale, where they pay you up front, there is zero risk, so no credit check required.
Really understanding these 4 dimensions is what separates a junior operator from a senior architect. It's about moving beyond just executing tasks to actually designing and controlling the flow of revenue in your company.
And the difference is just night and day. A junior operator thinks in transaction codes. They're focused on how to perform one single step. They treat the system like a typewriter for data entry. But a senior architect, they think in end-to-end flows. They don't just ask how, they ask which. Which is the right blueprint for the specific business need? They see the system for what it really is, the financial engine of the company.
So, if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. Order to cash isn't just one process. It's a whole family of controlled revenue flows. And every single one of those flows is deliberately designed using the 4 dimensions we just covered to meet a very specific business purpose.
And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about in your own work. Are you simply an operator, just typing data into a system? Or are you an architect, conducting the very engine that powers your business? The choice and the mindset is yours.